Hey everyone. Recently one of the figures I picked up, because I've been picking up a lot of Transformer figures lately as well as some other figures, but one of the more recent Transformer figures I picked up was one that Optibotimus, I want to thank Optibotimus for letting us know about this. One of the figures I picked up recently was Skylinks, yeah. Now, I didn't pick up the original Skylinks, even though I'm planning to probably do that in the future. No, the Skylinks that I picked up is part of the Combiner Wars, and it is this Skylinks. Now, as you could probably tell, he's designed similar to his original G1 counterpart. The only problem is he doesn't have his lion's head, except when you put him into Combiner mode. Yeah, that's the only time he can. That's the only time he has his lion's head or Link's head or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's the only time he has it. Now, I want people. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I was thinking about talking about this last night, and I want some people to understand one thing. The Combiner Wars are a new line of Transformers. They're basically doing something that we as kids, because I'm pretty sure it's from kids themselves that are doing this. Well, not kids themselves, but people that grew up as kids like us have been wanting to see for a while too. And that is, we've always had this fascination of wondering what would be. What would be if Skylinks or Optimus Prime combined with the other Autobots? Now we kind of got a sample of Optimus Prime combining with the other Autobots in the season 2 episode, I think called Masquerade, where they were disguised by by some kind of device or invention of Wheeljack's that made them look like the Stunticons. So we kind of got a sample there, but we never ever thought what would it be like if they connected all together. Now we know Optimus has a line of Transformers along with himself. We know that. We know that for a fact. He's basically like right here. He's the main focus. He's the number 3 figure. He's the main body part, if you will. But the question is, who else would be possible? Well, we know with Combiner Wars, they were bringing back a lot of the Combiner teams that we know of. We know that they brought back the Aerial Bots. We know they brought back the Stunticons. We know, from my personal experience, as you saw in the video, they brought back the Combaticons. They brought back the Protectobots, if you will. But things started to get a little weird, though. You see, one of the Technobots, if you will, Scattershot, which is like the main leader of the Technobots, he doesn't have any Technobots to combine with. No, he actually combines with other G1 Autobots. And from what I saw on there, he combines with Ironhide, Prowl, Mirage, I think, is another. And can't think of the other one, but I know it's Mirage, it's Ironhide, it's Prowl, and I think it's Sunstreaker. I'm not really sure. I have to look again. But you would, or Sunstreaker or Sideswipe. I think it's Sideswipe. I'm not really sure. So you would think he would have his fellow Technobots to combine with, but he doesn't. He has those guys. The same with Skylinks. We know in a sense he's sort of a combiner himself. Not a multiple robot into one robot combiner. He's a 2-part transformer. He's part bird. He's basically a Skylynx. He's a part lynx cat, if you will. The outer shell here in the original. This was originally with detach, and the top one being of a bird. So, or an eagle or something like that. So basically, he was an original. In a sense, he was a two-part combiner. That was about it. That was about it. Now, the difference though is with this reissue combiner wise, this combiner wars reissue or it of Skylynx is you don't have the two parts disconnecting. You have them all in one part, and the reason being is because he combines with other Autobots as well. And again, this all goes back to what I was talking about. You know, that fascination we had as kids of what would the Autobot, what kind of combiners, or who would combine with Optimus Prime to become a bigger robot, or who would combine with this robot or that robot, who would combine with Megatron, stuff like that. And we never really got our answer. But like I said, Masquerade sort of gave us a sample. What Hasbro is doing now is exactly what we've been wanting as kids. They're giving us that opportunity to kind of combine figures together into one robot, just like we wanted back in the past. Nowadays, with the Combiner Wars line, you have the opportunity to combine Optimus with 5 other robots, or 4 other robots, to make one big robot. You have the same opportunity now with Skylynx as well. So you have this opportunity now, and who knows who else they might be bringing in. I mean, heck, they're issuing bigger versions of the Decepticons, not masterpiece versions, but big enough versions. You're thinking, why the heck are they in the Combiner Wars line unless they become a big robot themselves? I mean, you saw the size of my Skywarp that I have. The guy's huge. If you don't believe me, hold on. This is my Combiner Wars Skywarp. Look at the size of him compared to the size of Skywarp. I mean, Skylynx, I should say. Look at that. And this guy doesn't combine with anybody, as far as I know. This is basically, I think, in a sense, they may not come out and say it. I think this, in a sense, is a combined. Basically, I think, in a sense, this is an MP. They're just not going to come out and say. They're not going to come out and say what it is. I think it is an MP, in a sense. I think it is. May not be, in that box kind of thing, but I think it's an MP. I really do. But like I said, you wonder why they have him there, or even the Armada Megatron, if you will, version. And they have this. I mean, I have a Megatron in there that's bigger than this, a little bit bigger than this. Not as big as a Skywarp, but as far as I know, I think is. Let me see. Move my Sonic out of the way for a second. Yes, smaller than my Megatron figures that I have. So I guess they made certain characters bigger because of who they were. And in my opinion, like with Skywarp, I think secretly put MP1 models in there. Because that's what they are. They are MP1 models. But they're just not going to tell you. But Skylynx here, the original Skylynx used to be in a bigger box. Anybody that owned the original Skylynx and still has them knows that. Because he was bigger and he used to be battery operated. This one is not. This is basically a condensed version. No disconnecting parts of here's a lynx, here's an eagle. Instead, you have one robot that basically forms the main portion here. Now, I was considering getting Smokescreen and Wheeljack because they were there, but I decided to hold off against it until later. But yeah, you have Skylings here, and again, the question everybody has is why? Why would they do this with the Transformers? Why put these characters in? Why reissue certain characters in Combiner Wars, or redesign, or slightly redesigned characters for Combiner Wars when they were never really combiners? Again, basically, what is the point of certain characters being in the Combiner War line? Well, again, like I said, basically it's to allow us as fans that grew up on Transformers to live out that fantasy of what if. I mean, because come on, don't tell me you didn't probably use some glue or some tape to probably stick certain Transformers on top of onto each other to make a big robot. Don't tell me you didn't try that. I'm sure you did. But anyway, like I said, this to me is probably the best idea they got going, the Combiner War line, because again, it allows us to live that fantasy that we had as kids instead of being limited towards, again, instead of just being limited to, certain just combiners that you had to collect one at a time, or save up money, or wait for Christmas to get the whole set for. Now you can have a whole variety of them if you choose to do that. And another thing about it is these things are bigger than the original combiners themselves. So if you have the display place, or the room, I should say, to display them in combined form or not, I would suggest, taking part in this Combiner Wars line. I would. So that's just my thoughts on the whole Combiner Wars. Excuse me there. Again, like I said, that's just my whole thoughts on the whole Combiner Wars line and how I feel, not how I feel, but why I feel certain characters like Skylings and Optimus, and now even Scattershot without the Technobots played into it. And why certain characters like Megatron and Skywarp are bigger than the Combiner War figures themselves. So, let me know what you guys think down below. What are your thoughts on the Transformer Combiner War line? Check out Optibotimus and Bolt Matrix's reviews on them, and I will talk to you all later.